You're watching Liquid Lunch on Newsmax TV. I'm John Tobacco. It is a Money Monday, and the money in your portfolio today, as we speak, down 400, is a little lower than where you want it to be. But don't panic. If you're invested for the right reasons, you got a long-term diversified portfolio. Do not be reactive to these one-day things, the fear, fright, and hysteria of a coronavirus. Stay calm. Namaste. Mix yourself up a cold drink. Joining us right now is George Seay. He's the founder and CEO of Annandale Capital. They're a global investment firm, money management firm. He's also an attorney, an MBA, a civil leader, a philanthropist. This guy's everything. But I want to hit a few topics with you because you got such a wide pedigree. First and foremost, market down 400 today. You're a money manager. You have a global investment firm. I always kind of talk to my audience about being smart and building a portfolio for your needs that's like a long term, so you don't have to be reactive to this stuff. What does this coronavirus really mean to the macro markets right now?
I would say so far absolutely nothing. Now, if it gets much more widespread and becomes a virus that's uncontrollable, maybe something else. It's clearly going to slow down China a little bit. It's clear that China wasn't ready for it, and because of their totalitarian society, they're much more interested in cutting information rather than getting information widespread so people can avoid the virus. But so far it's pretty well contained. It's never a good thing when people die, but I think there's 5 cases in the US and nobody's really gotten harmed by it yet. So with CDC protecting us and it being limited to China, it's probably going to have some pretty short legs, I think.
So we talked a little before you came on. My background is in short selling. So I'm always looking for reasons to bet against stocks. And I see all these little biotechs that were like $1.50 and they have some kind of potion or lotion that could possibly go, have an effect on the coronavirus. And you see these stocks, they're $1.50 and today they're $5. And is people just chasing those things, or could one of them like emerge and be the next Pfizer?
Well, it won't emerge anytime soon, right? So if they've more than doubled in price in a short period of time, shorting a basket of those would probably work.
Yeah, you like that. All right. We agree on that one. I like that. I want to shift gears a little bit, talk to you about your thoughts on the whole impeachment stuff and how that affects the markets. I think the markets kind of, once the articles of impeachment got turned over, the markets and institutional money managers look at it and say, all right, well, now we know that it's in the Republicans' hands. They're not going to throw him out of office. So, there's some certainty in the outcome there. Do you think a shift in that, like calling for witnesses or something, could cause another market downturn?
I don't think so. I think the markets are largely ignoring this. We've been hitting highs for the last couple of months, and this short-term virus scare isn't going to keep us from hitting more highs in the future. And it's almost a done deal completely that the Democrats impeach, the Republicans are going to acquit or dismiss, and we've got 9 months till an election. We're going to let the American people decide who the next president is. And I think this has been so split on partisan grounds, it's lost a lot of credibility, because unlike the Nixon impeachment where it was time for him to go, the Democrats just haven't made the case in this instance.
I haven't seen it yet.
So, George, you talk about the impact that politics could have on the stock market and the economy. Let's talk about things going the other way around, the impact that the economy and the stock market will have on politics. By all measures, even in spite of the dire warnings that the tariffs were going to cause a recession, or this was going to cause a recession, or that was going to cause a recession, the economy looks like it's in pretty good shape. With the exception of maybe the national debt and the deficit, things are all pointing in the right direction. What do you think that means for 2020? It's no secret Donald Trump can be a polarizing guy, but are these economic numbers going to carry him over the finish line, in your view, in these battleground states that Obama won twice and then Trump won in 2016?
I'd give him about a 55% chance. I think in a normal election, we'd be having a 1984 Ronald Reagan landslide, and he'd be just crushing whoever his opponent is, no matter who it is, because people vote their pocketbooks. In the country, I think, is doing better than okay. I think we're doing really, really well, which is amazing 11 years into this economic expansion. But he's so divisive, and I think he kind of rolls the dice on his presidency about once a month. It's pretty amazing how many chances he takes with his presidency. So it's not a certainty, but I'd give him the more likely odds of getting out of this thing next November.
There was a Gallup poll, and Gallup polls tend to lean a little more to the left. But there was a Gallup poll that 51% of Americans, according to Gallup, said they don't want the president to be removed from office. And I think, with a 3.5 plus minus, and you got these silent Trumpers who are afraid to say, I think it's more like 55 or 57% of the people who don't want to see the president removed. Do you think the public sentiment is moving in a direction where the Democrats are losing more and more steam by dragging this thing out?
I think that's where it's been going the whole time through. And I think the Democrats have overplayed their hand. And I think when you've got Nancy Pelosi and her minions saying we have to race this through the House and no witnesses because it's so urgent we get rid of this guy, and then they sit on it for a month and don't send the articles to the Senate, that's so hypocritical. And I think the American people, from a normal American people who don't follow politics all the time, would say a pox on both their houses. We're tired of this stuff.
It is interesting if you watch the Democratic primary debate that's shaping up now. John pointed out that Bernie Sanders appears to be headed to a big win in both Iowa and New Hampshire. Obviously, anything can change, anything can happen in a week. But if Bernie Sanders were to be the Democratic nominee and have essentially a 50-50 chance of getting elected president, with his program of a wealth tax, his program of single-payer health care, his program of basically a war on billionaires, what do you think just his nomination might do to the capital markets in this country?
Well, that's a great question. I think there's two factors in play here. Number one, can a socialist win the presidency? I still believe a socialist can't win the presidency. I don't think we're that far along, but we'll find out. If Sanders is the nominee, I'd give Trump about a 65 to 70% chance of winning. Secondly, if he does get the nomination, if he does win, what do the Republicans do in the Senate? Because then the Senate would be the last bastion of capitalism against the socialist horde storming the barricades, and it'd be a very important checking point, cooling off place to keep some of these horribly radical tax policies from coming into play. And the Senate looks pretty close. I think the Republicans will probably hold it, but a lot of it depends on how well the president runs.
Well, there's somebody in studio right now who's going to be joining us next, Morgan Zegers, CEO and founder of Young Americans Against Socialism. And I think she agrees with you that we're probably not ready to elect a socialist at this point. And give us one tip for 2020 that you're recommending to your big institutional money management clients that people should be doing with their portfolios. You know, I know everyone should have a different set of goals, but I'm recommending to a lot of people in my newsletter, The Monday Morning Quarterback, to keep a little more than usual in cash because the geopolitical volatility is so high. There might be some bargains on these big dips like down 400. What do you think?
I think having dry powder is a very good idea. I think people should be looking at emerging markets. They've lagged for so long, and there has to at some point be a reversion to the mean. We're also telling people to look at midstream oil and gas stocks. It's one of the most hated sectors I've ever seen in my life, and the yields are 8 to 9%, so you get paid almost 10% to sit tight and see if it gets any better than that. We also like oil and gas, minerals, and royalty stocks that generate tremendous income. We think they'll compare favorably to the market over the next 5 years.
9 to 10% is pretty good.
Not bad.
When most savings accounts and money market funds and the brokerage accounts are paying like a half. If you're lucky.
And the distributions are covered by cash flow, so they're pretty darn safe.
That is good stuff. Check out Annandale Capital. George Seay is a globally recognized expert money manager, and we're going to have you back more, my friend. Really appreciate you coming down.
John. Great to be here.
You're watching Liquid Lunch. We always appreciate you being right where you are, and we're breezing right through hour two, but don't go anywhere yet. Plenty more coming up. We got Morgan Zegers. We got Corey M. Stern coming up right after this.